his left, Jess on his right. Hey, hold up, don't start a fight. He's got you covered with all the sports. Don't fret, he's wearing shorts. It's time for Wake and Jake in the morning, Wake and Jake at night. Jake sucks.
Woo! What is going on, Bakers? Welcome back to Wake and Jake, myself, King BBD, and we had a fantastic sports weekend, and I thought we were going to have a slightly crazier Sunday, but still a fantastic sports Sunday. London game, BBD's Giants. Hello. People are talking about them in a good light in the first time since forever, since Eli Daniel Jones. I don't even know. Thought there was going to be 3 MLB Game 3 elimination games. There was only one that took place last night in Flushing. And we are going to start there because the Mets season ended. In this episode, podcast app, you get the whole thing, YouTube. I think we're going to be Eargate and football, and then we'll do a little baseball series DS preview. Eargate. John Boy did the breakdown. I always tell you go to check those out. Let's walk ourselves through it. Eargate, Joe Musgrove, big game. Guy kind of has big ears. I think that's okay to say. Joe Musgrove has been electric lately. You're watching the game. The Mets are getting dominated. They're down 4-0. What are we doing? Buck Showalter comes out to start the inning, and I was on the live stream. I was like, oh boy, Buck's trying to do something here. Everyone starts looking at Musgrove, and they're like, are they really gonna? And then David Cohn on the broadcast, who he loves pitching, towing the slab with David Cohn, check that out, says that Joe Musgrove's spin rate has been up across the board, not just like one pitch, not seemingly something fluky that maybe a playoff atmosphere could muster. They go out and they check him. They're looking at Joe Musgrove. They grab the glove. You know, if you've seen any baseball video in history of an umpire checking a pitcher, that's what it looks like. They check the glove. The pitcher's kind of doing shruggy stuff. And then he rubs his ears, which watching the game on low volume, I mean, we were laughing. We thought the ear thing was a joke. We assumed that Joe Musgrove normally has kind of glowing ears.
We assumed he just sort of like gets sweaty up there.
Sweaty ear guy. I don't know. Because, and this unfortunately starts to derail the argument, would be if there could be a worse spot to hide the stuff you're cheating with, I think your inner earlobes in a playoff game when there's a ton of cameras would be the worst spot maybe ever.
It's like extra close-up shots.
Like the only worst one is Pineda with the pine tar.
Like up here. Or
drenching his skin. Neck. I mean, the neck and the ears are cousins. People forget that. They come out, they look at Musgrove. I think maybe it was playoff adrenaline. Maybe it's something else we'll find out in many years. We were wondering if it was red hot. McCutcheon tweeted out that it was definitely red hot. And then a bunch of pitchers and people started chiming in that it definitely wasn't red hot. Joe Musgrove is not cheating. Joe Musgrove has been pitching really good lately. And the Mets on the other side of this, and okay, so things are getting Metsy, right? I saw someone did that, the meme of the clown who gets progressively paints its face, and it was, let's win the series versus Atlanta. Okay, let's win one game versus Atlanta. Okay, let's win the wild card at home. And then the final clown picture was, well, there's always next year. Which was some deep cut, sad but true Met stuff. When in fact, there's a couple things going on here, and nobody really wants to hear it. Joe Musgrove has been fantastic. Coming into last night's game, his last 22 innings, he had given up 1 earned run. Including his postseason now, it's better than that. Because he shut down the Mets. He was attacking the zone. He was fearless. By the way, this was a guy. Remember the Pirates were trading him, and they'd already like moved Cole, and it was like, all right, Joe Musgrove he's a pitcher,
Seems
but
talented.
He's a pitcher, but he's not like Garrett Cole. Like no one should expect that. Garrett Cole is a rare breed, but it's like let's see what it's. How about Frankie the Yankee, Frankie Montas right now? Is like, let's see him outside of Pittsburgh, and, the stuff's kind of there. He's been a stud, and they locked him up to what is now a very team-friendly 5-year, $100 million deal. Because if he went to free agency, especially the way he's pitching now and after this year, he would have brought in a lot more than that, but he's a San Diego guy, so super cool for Joe Musgrove. Happy for him. And the Mets, Chris Bassett got hit a little bit early, and baseball gods were not with them on this day. I mean, Mark Canha drives a ball in the right center field that has a 25% catch probability, which I know that, that means 1 out of 4, right? It kind of doesn't. That means if you took all of the center fielders in MLB and they all had their run at it, like 25% of the time that gets caught. So some of the center fielders are never getting there. The elite center fielders have the chance to get there, and Trent Grisham is one of those guys who, by the way, how's your series, Trent Grisham? He tracks it down. There's a couple line drives right at Soto that the Mets, they never got any momentum. They never got the juice going, and I was reading a lot of Mets stuff, and go check out Shea Station, Jolly Olive, Jerry Blevins, 2 level-headed Mets fans. Scherzer's definitely hurt. We'll find out what we hear about it. But, Scherzer and DeGrom were supposed to be the bad dudes. DeGrom was. DeGrom was the bad dude. Max Scherzer was not. And clearly, if you saw his last couple starts, Jerry Blevins and Peter Moylan instantly said it. John Smoltz was alluding to it on the broadcast. I think pitchers know. Pitchers know pitchers, and Max Scherzer wasn't there. So, a brutal ending to this Mets season, 101 wins. I think it was only the 4th time in Mets history they won 100 games. So, in a way,
I think first since '88,
and it's like their second most wins ever in a regular season. So it's devastating. It's brutal, and for a Mets fan base that is used to being a punchline to a degree, devastating. And the other thing, I was watching the Mets post game, and man, they were, kind of one of the top 2 teams in baseball for like 5 months of this season, and to have it end, it's a bad feeling. They interesting free agency coming up. Brandon Nimmo, their center fielder, leadoff guy, really nice stats. He is a free agent. Interested to see what that guy can pull in on the open market. It's going to be a real number.
Contended for some daisies all year.
Center field, people. He's probably going to have to slide at some point. He's getting into his 30s, but still.
That's what happens.
Gets on base, which that age as well, and he's going to get paid. And then it's a lot of their pitching. I did not realize. DeGrom, he's obviously the big one that people have been talking about, and he is now healthy, and he showed it going into his free agency. That is huge. He is going to get a massive payday, and Mets fans hope it's from Uncle Steve, but there's going to be a lot of teams knocking. That's going to be interesting to see. Because guess what? Some of these nerdy analytic formulas, some of them see something like Jacob deGrom, and they're like, that's what we need to break the bank for. That is something different that we can't produce. We can find 3.8 ERA guys, whether it's molding them or calling them up or signing or trading. Jacob deGrom's, you can't replicate that. He's going to have so much money thrown at him. I believe our guy Taijuan Walker is a free agent. Edwin Diaz had one of the best closing seasons ever. So the Mets pitching is going to be significantly retooled. That lineup's going to have a lot of the guys, Alonso, McNeil, Lindor, they're going to be there, and you're going to build around that. Canha, Eddie Escobar. So you're going to see a lot of familiar faces. Hopefully that Alvarez kid is the truth, and he gets some run next year. But, man, an absolutely crushing ending for the New York Mets. Tough.
Not to We'll have all off season to discuss it. But Diaz, his last 3 years going into free agency before 29, he's going to break the reliever record.
Jeff Passan
easily will break the reliever contract record.
Jeff Passan said confidently he's going to get $100 million, which for a volatile position, that is a risky proposition. That's not a shot at Edwin Diaz. I think he deserves it. The strikeout numbers are unreal, and he's young, healthy, but you can have a bad year as a reliever, kind of quick.
I thought he had more bad on his baseball reference on a full year basis. It's just the one. No, it was big bad, but
it was the one, and then where he screwed up, which is loosely used, he had a bad start to the next season, so everyone was just like, oh, this guy. But then he was lights out. I think the COVID year.
Yeah, 2020.
2019.
2019 was the first year in New York. That was the big
That was bad. And then 2020, he started out slow, and it was COVID, and then he finished great. And then he's just been incredible.
Yeah. Gave up runs in 2 of his first 3, and then lights out the rest of the way.
Braves re-signed Spencer Strider, because of course they did. Now, guys through 2026/2033, Kyle Wright, William Contreras, Ozzie Albies, Vaughn Grisham. Maybe he shouldn't be in there yet. I mean, he looks good, but Ronald Acuna Jr., Spencer Strider, who just got the extension, Matt Olson, Michael Harris, Deuce, and Austin Riley. The Braves core is set for a while. We are going to do a little DS preview in a minute. Let's do some football quick, people, because this football weekend was fun. It starts in Thursday night with my Denver Broncos and the Colts. Ah! That was me screaming not directly into the mic. As some of you may know, I'm a Broncos fan. Middle school picture, Terrell Davis jersey, every year. Was so excited for the season. The Broncos have had horrible quarterback play, and now snakes. Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett. The crowd left. The Broncos. Denver is a Broncos town. Depending wherever you live or wherever you visited and you felt different cities, like St. Louis, even when the Rams were there, I think it was a Cardinals town. New York is a Yankees town. That's kind of the secret, and I hope it stays that way. People would love to find out if the Knicks ever had a great run, but it's a Yankees town as of now.
There's theories that if the Knicks ever gave them a reason to be Knicks over anything else, it would happen.
It'd be interesting.
Try it out.
Like, LA is a Lakers town. Like, sorry, the Dodgers are incredible, and people still care about the Lakers more. Like, the Lakers are its own being. I'm trying to think of other cities. Anyways, Denver. You know, the Rockies are the Rockies. It's a great stadium. They haven't had a ton of winning. Even the Avalanche. It's a hockey town. Like, Denver loves hockey. The Broncos run Denver. It's like this bit of Americana that, like on a Broncos game day, the town turns orange. It's really cool. This Broncos team was so sad that in a 9-9 game into overtime, people were leaving, and I didn't blame them. I understand fandom guy going online and being like, that's a tough look, and it is. It's a brutal watch, and we've also gotten in this weird habit that when there's a bad football game, people now love tweeting about it. I got caught in it, I'll be honest, but we love tweeting about a bad football game. And that was an awful football game. The Colts are now 2-2-1. Sheesh. Matt Ryan looks awful. Jonathan Taylor didn't play in this game. Good for him. Matt Ryan looked atrocious. Russ and the Broncos offense looked awful. If you want a bright spot to just not be super negative, Alec Pierce, rookie wide receiver for the Colts, he looks good. Number 14, he's got like really long arms. A couple of his catches were just straight bizarre. Colts win. Broncos lose. They're 2-3. They very well could be 4-1 if they had like any little bit of like pride or trust or coaching or leadership. Russell Wilson.
If anything was like one notch better.
If you remember, Russell Wilson threw a ball into the end zone that got intercepted. If they had kicked a field goal there, they would have went up 6 in a game where a touchdown did not get scored with like 3 minutes left. But Russ chucked one into the end zone for no reason. And then They had a pass to win it at the end. The famous Russ Super Bowl play, the interception, and the guy was wide open, but Russ wasn't even looking over there. So everyone got their screenshots off, which in the NFL is always unfair because these guys run crazy fast. The guy was open, KJ Hamler, and he slams his helmet. Nobody likes Russ right now. Nobody likes Nathaniel Hackett right now. And that's your coach and your quarterback. Things are disastrous in Denver. And by the way, they traded everything for Russell Wilson.
And, like, committed how much in cap space?
Money and, yeah.
Which, like, that.
I don't
like,
know.
baseball, I don't get on people for contracts, but, like, just salary cap sports, that matters.
So crazy. Giants, Packers. BBD's Giants. How about this? In London. Leading up to this game, we didn't know if Daniel Jones would play last time we recorded. And then the video came out, and he was, like, running around enough that you're like, okay, for a quarterback, you're going to play.
Especially when the backup was for sure out.
Right.
Like, Jones is going.
Jones will play. Saquon looks good again. He had some Saquon runs where, the juke stick was working. Which, again, we haven't really fully seen that from Saquon in a while.
Like it was his worst, like, statistical game of this year, but he had, like, 2 different plays in that one up the sideline. That was like, that's the best move I've seen from him since his rookie year.
Easily. And then the Packers Packers have a lead, and then they go kind of too pass happy. They go Rodgers pass happy offense when the Packers are great. I mean, Jones and their running game is just punishing you. And obviously Rodgers does Rodgers stuff, but when Jones and Dillon start going, that's when you're in the torture chamber. They're running on you. They're passing on you. There's nothing you could do. They got a little pass happy because I think they thought, we're up on the Giants. They're not the best team. Giants put together 2 touchdown drives. They take a lead, 27-20. We get some funny business safety action at the end. That's always fun in London. It seems like Rodgers doesn't trust his receivers. He almost so many of his targets were at Cobb and Lazard instead of the rookie. I think it's Dubs, and Robert Tonyan gets in the mix. New York Giants, basically with the worst wide receiver crew assembled. Darius Slayton, Richie James, David Sills. None of them were on your fantasy board this year. And the Giants are winning games. They're 4-1. That's as many wins as they had last year. Dayball is becoming a cult hero. And good. Good for him. The Giants have been looking for any life for so long that Dayball's energy is awesome for New York City, too. I mean, it's kind of like an offensive Rex Ryan. Like, he's this beefy guy. He's going to Rangers games. He's yelling off the field. Like, New York loves that shit. And the bigger thing is New York loves winning. So the Giants are 4-1.
Making both good game plans and in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
Like every facet of their coaching has been really good. And you look at they're not a very talented team.
No.
Like on an NFL level, especially that receiver room, and
they're getting the most out of their
happen.
talent. And yeah, the part of my take guys said this. I'll tell you. They said like the Giants are a fun watch, which even in the Eli days, like the Giants kind of weren't a fun watch.
Like the Super Bowl years, those teams had an element
Plaxico,
of it,
and they had running backs, and even like some of the cool tight ends that the Giants used to have. But like the Giants haven't been a fun watch
since then
in over a decade.
You get one Odell play a week for.
Oh
2 years
yeah,
there, but
the Odell times were a little fun.
They have a path to some interesting records. Like Ravens next week. Okay, that'll be tough. But at Jags, at Seahawks, should be able to get at least one of those. Probably going to be favored in both.
Like 2.
Texans, Lions, and then they have a run of division stuff that hopefully is important.
Right, and the NFC Beast is actually looking good right now. Eagles, Cowboys, how about them? Bills rolled on the Steelers. This was my lock of the week in the John Boy Media. It was -14, and it should have been bigger, but it's early in the NFL season, so you can't make spreads much bigger than that. They went 38-3. I mean, best team in the league versus, arguably one of the worst. Kenny Pickett, it's a rookie.
He's learning.
This was just a disaster. And in Buffalo against like a defense that's a pin their ears back defense, like the future and current NFL defenses are, like we saw this with the Chiefs, you saw it with the you saw it with the Rams, and now you're seeing it with the Bills. To be this perfectly oiled machine, you have the elite offense, which they do, and then you have a defense that is insane at pass rushing. So when you take the lead, Von Miller and those guys get to pin their ears back, and you're just in hell. And if you're Kenny Pickett, this was an impossible ask. Browns, they lose another close game to the Chargers. They're having Broncos syndrome. I got to text Chris Rose. They're driving at the end of this game. Brissett throws the interception that seals it. Chargers, a nice little road win. Again, these Browns are continuing to play close, good games. Chargers get a win. They're still missing a lot of their best players. Austin Eckler, 173 on the ground. That guy's so good. I keep thinking because he's little and he's bald, it's going to fade, but it doesn't. Chargers win that. Vikings hold off the Bears. The Vikings are 4-1, but they let the Bears back into this game, and the Bears were even driving, and they have a bad fumble that ends it. Bears are pesky. I'm starting to buy a little bit of Justin Fields stock, which is surprising myself. I don't want to say frauds, like I'm that kind of guy. I don't think the Vikings are as good as their record shows. They got the Packers on the first week, which is now clearly, this Packers team doesn't look incredible, but also that first week of the season, they looked so bad, and they did that last year too. They barely beat the Saints. They barely beat the Lions. They got rolled on by the Eagles. They go at Miami. Maybe that'll be my lock next week, depending what the number there is. Cardinals, Commanders, then Bills, Cowboys. I don't know.
Obviously, very small sample, but just 3-0 at home, which is a formula if you take care of business at home and games on the road.
Yeah,
We'll see where that number lands, but a thing I think I'm going to be looking at with them moving forward.
I don't want to be a hater, but I kind of am, and I mean, like I have Dalvin Cook and Madison in any fantasy league, so in a way I believe them. But they, I think they're a team. Like, I don't think this is a team that, like, postseason comes around and it's like, hey, 11-win team, maybe they can make that run. Like, no, I think when they run into other good teams, I think they're going to be destroyed. But let's see. Justin Jefferson, how open that guy gets sometimes is mind-boggling. He's really good. Patriots rolled over my Lions 29-0. I told you the Lions would go down big early. I didn't think it would stay the whole way. And by the way, Zappy Mania is starting to sweep over New England fans. Let's see it against a team that's not the Detroit Lions. But if Bailey Zappi, if that's a name we're going to be saying for the next decade, fire me up. Patriots win at home over the Lions, so I'm not going to. But 29-0, you think Belichick can't still coach a little bit? Everyone does. Saints Seahawks, I gave this a firm don't watch. This was an electric game. Went full like college football game at the end. Kenneth Walker, the kid, running loose. Taysom Hill, 9 carries for 112 and 3 touchdowns. What? Joe's kids. Tyler Lockett was looking like Tyler Lockett, catching deep balls, just being open from Geno Smith. It looked like the Seahawks had a chance to steal this and become the 3-2 Seahawks. Nope. Saints do enough at the end. They win 39-32. Again, this game was crazy down the stretch. Actually, a lot of fun, so I'm sorry I put them down. Both 2-3 teams that do nothing for me. Like, I guess here's what I'm saying about the Vikings. I think they're better than the Saints and the Seahawks. But I have the Vikings closer to Saints Seahawks than I have to Chiefs Bills. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Dolphins Jets. 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 3-2. They win and they put up a 40 spot. What felt like it was going to be a magical Jets-Mets day. But Jets put up a big number. Breece Hall, a guy that looked like a fantasy football trap this year, rookie running back on the Jets that's going to be splitting carries with Michael Carter. To talk yourself into that is kind of a death sentence in fantasy. That's normally a guy that doesn't do well. 97 yards and a touchdown on the ground, 100 yards receiving, 2 catches. The long was 79. So that's how you get there. But a huge game from Breece Hall. Zach Wilson does enough. 14 of 21, 0 touchdowns, 0 ints. Ints. That's funny to say sometimes. Teddy Bridgewater gets knocked out of this game, and Skylar Thompson, well, I'll be honest with you, not hyper familiar with. Your 7th-round pick out of K-State starts for the Dolphins. So, before we start going Looney Tunes over these Jets, they beat Skylar Thompson's football team, the 7th-round pick. Hey, Jets handled their business at home. They have a winning record. It's going to be mid-October, and the Jets have a winning record. Good for Coach Saleh. Again, think about how bad it would have been if they didn't come back on that Browns game that they had no business coming back on. And now they're 3-2, and Zach Wilson fever's happening. Saleh fever's happening. Football in New York is not miserable for the first time in a long time. I love when those stats come out that it's always like the Jets, Giants, and Mets haven't won a playoff game on the same day since 1882. It's like, that stat's not right. But happy for Jets fans. Sorry how your night ended because a lot of you are Mets fans. And Dolphins, I mean, you just watch Skylar Thompson. Like, Dolphins are down to 3-2. I know it's tough on the Dolphins. It was tough on Tua. I'm not going to blame this game on them for that, and we'll see when Tua or Teddy comes back because
they've had stuff happen to their quarterback.
Right.
So
right. I'm not taking credit for that. Good on the Jets. Bucs end up surviving the Falcons. They were up 21-0 for most of this game, and then NFL magic kicks in, and the Falcons make it scary down the stretch. I think this was just a case of a NFL team falling asleep a little bit with a big lead because it ended up not mattering. They still won 21-15. I think Tom Brady is like 11-0 against the Falcons. That always weirds me out with the NFL because, like, the players change a lot. Like, Tom Brady beat the Falcons in 2006, and we're still like, well, he's 11-0 against the Falcons. Like, there's not a single guy still connected to that. But it's kind of fun. I don't know. Some people like different domes. It's kind of the equivalent of a pitcher saying they like a mound.
yeah,
Like, there's a little bit of that, but otherwise. Leonard Fournette, still good. And a key cog to that Tampa Bay team. He has a big day. Titans outlast the Commanders in D.C. The Commanders drop to 1-4. Yikes. King Henry does it on the ground. Ugly game. Remember, the Titans were about ready to die. They were 0-2. They're 3-2. Good for Coach Rabel. Good for the Titans. They get their season back on track. You went from a team that looks like could be done. Like, if you go to 0-3, you're almost toast in football. They're 3-2. They've been the kings of that division. I think they may remain the kings of that division, especially because the Jaguars, a team I started to drink the Kool-Aid. Trevor Lawrence, my fantasy quarterback this year. He's going to rack up points. He'll run a little bit. He's going to throw enough. They lose at home to the Texans, the last winless team in the NFL. Dameon Pierce, good for that kid. I was skeptical coming into the season, kind of like what I said with Breece Hall. I was like, wait, Texans running back, 4th-round pick, they're going to be losing in every game? This kid's not going to happen. He happened today. Texans win 1-3-1. Lovie Smith coaching the lads up, and Jaguars, what is he doing, baby? And that's why you're still the Jaguars. I can't talk about you in a different light until you prove you're not. Even if you were the Jets or if you just won this game and you were 3-2, I'd say, okay. This was a game you couldn't lose and you lost. So I was trying to drink Jaguars Kool-Aid. I'm kind of fully out unless we see Trevor Lawrence really start to show something in consecutive weeks. 49ers rolled on the Panthers. Panthers, I've thrown out a couple potential worst teams in the NFL. Could be them. Again, if DraftKings has the bet, I'd have Matt Rule as first coach to lose their gig this year. Niners are starting to find it. I mean, this is their formula. Jimmy G, Jeff Wilson Jr. on the ground for $120. They're so cool when they're up at the end of the game and you know they're running and they can still beat you. I think that's what makes the Niners and Shanahan special. Not a lot of teams can do that. Going back to the Packers, they should do that. They didn't do that against the Giants. Panthers are bad. Sir Purr, that's their mascot. Cowboys, Rams. How about this one? The Rams lose to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. How about them in L.A.? Cowboys go to 4-1. Cooper Rush is undefeated. So that's fun. Tony Pollard is really good and explosive. He has 8 carries for 86. Meanwhile, Zeke, 22 for 78. Here comes the battering ram. Cooper Rush's line is super unimpressive. 10 for 16. 106 yards. But they hold off this Rams team. They held the lead throughout. They push it to a 2-score game. And that's kind of it. And, yeah, Stafford and the Rams, they have not been pretty this year. And, Cooper Kupp's doing it. Allen Robinson, that was a guy who was beloved in fantasy circles. And if he gets out of Chicago, watch out. He has done nothing for that team. The Rams, winning a Super Bowl and coming back is really hard. And they are showing it this year. Cowboys with their backup quarterback on the road? Mike McCarthy? I don't know. Start really worried for Rams fans. If they won this game, we would have said, okay, back at home, 3-2. Things are starting to get going. Opposite of that. Speaking of opposite of that, Eagles-Cardinals. This game had 2 paths for me. It was going to be Cardinals and Kyler were going to ball out. I talked about this a little bit. I thought Kyler could rise up to the moment. Or they were going to lose by 40 points. I didn't know the middle area. Cardinals kind of balled out and gave them a game. It was 17-17. Eagles kick a field goal to go up 20-17. Cardinals are driving. Kyler looks kind of good. He had a couple explosive runs in this game. They drive down. Kyler on 3rd down. He's got the lane. He does the QB slide. And we see this a couple times every year. The QB slide, the ball gets marked where the slide starts. So Kyler slid and went down clear past the line, but where the slide started was before the line. So then it's 4th and 1, and they just need the field goal to tie, and the kid misses it. Amendola, I believe, which is always funny because we always think of Danny Amendola. But Matt Amendola misses the field goal at the end of the game. Eagles go to 5-0. Cardinals had a real opportunity to put a signature win on the board. They rose up for this game, and they gave them hell. You've heard me kind of want to write the Cardinals off. We do a lot of schedule talking here because it's important. They lost to the Chiefs first weekend. No shame in that. Chiefs are really good. They beat the Raiders. All right, whatever. Raiders are a team. They lost to the Rams. Not great, but, Rams. They beat the Panthers. Sure, bad team. They lost to the Eagles close. So your 3 losses so far can end up looking okay. And you have Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, Seahawks, and then the Rams again. So you can win of your next 4 games. You could win 3 of those pretty easily and have some Cardinals, momentum. Little worried about this team. They'd love to get DeAndre Hopkins back. He's so crucial. I've been worried about this team, and I wonder if this leads into a little more of a Cardinals hangover, that if they lose to the Seahawks or something, this thing could come unraveled really quickly. Your night game, we're watching it while we're watching the Mets a little bit. Ravens, Bengals, AFC North football. Ravens, just at the end, Joe Burrow makes the drive to take the lead 17-16. Ravens kicked a very soft field goal. They had a 4th and 1 deep in their own end. They kick it to go up 6, which is like, does that do much for you? Now when Joe Burrow drives down the field and they take a lead, but they left too much time for Lamar and gang. They kicked the field goal, 19-17. Liking both of these teams more and more. Ravens, I've talked to you about their losses. I think they slept through one, and then they lost a close game to the Bengals that they also just kind of screwed the pooch on that at the end. Their later season schedule clears up that I think the Ravens will get hot, and the Bengals are starting to figure it out too. All they did was score a little too early. They go Saints, Falcons, Browns, Panthers, Steelers, Titans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5 wins there, I think. Still like them. I think they're picking up steam going into the season. So that was your football weekend. Tonight, Chiefs Raiders. Last night without baseball for a little bit. So enjoy that one. That should be high scoring, fun. A lot of Chiefs games are normally fun. And Raiders, again, still back against the wall, hoping to get back into the season. Bad team to try to do it against.